Welcome back, and right now it's late December, almost January, and if you're still fishing, if you're lucky enough that the lakes aren't frozen over yet, it's probably pretty cold. You know, it's cold throughout the country unless you're in Florida, but anywhere else that you're still fishing, one of the best baits to use right now is a tail spinner, and we're going to talk about that right now. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like and you want to subscribe. Now we'll get into this. We're talking tail spinners. It is by far one of my favorite ways to catch fish when the water's cold. And I'm talking in the 50s, 40s, and 30s. I've done it in all those conditions, and it is hard to beat a metal bait. You know, I've done another video talking about my love of blade baits, and the tail spinner is right there. And there's some days when the fish want one or the other. Some days they'll eat both. It's just kind of something that I always have both on deck. If I find a tail spinner bite, got a blade bait right next to it, and I fish them very similar. You know, a lot of lifting and dropping, you know, getting that vibration. But the key with that is finding the right tail spinner that will do it. You know, if you've fished long enough, you probably fish with a Little George. You know, it's great for casting, but it doesn't vibrate like that because the weighted body has a metal rod at the end, and then the blade spins around it. That will work for some situations, but to get the thump, you need a specific type of blade bait with a spinner on the back of it, you know, just right to the body. This is the Jackal Dare Coop, which is easily one of my favorites. It thumps really good, good colors, casts well, a lot of sizes. But again, you want that swivel connected to the body, not on the whole shank of the bait itself, you know, not on that metal rod. Another really good one, a little bit cheaper. This is the Lunker Hunt version. And if you look at this, I've actually made this even spin even better because I added a second swivel. So this is gonna thump even harder. I put a bigger blade on it. You know, you are gonna risk fouling some, but this thing thumps like crazy. And again, it's a lot cheaper than that Dare Coop. So I do throw this one as well, catches fish. It's a great little tail spinner. Another one here, this is the Savage Gear. Again, it will thump pretty good. You know, this is the blade that came on it. You could put a bigger blade on it as well, but you want that thump. Again, lifting and dropping, lifting and dropping. You know, there's also a lot of custom ones out there, a little bit bigger. These work as well. This is almost I think it's a 7/8 ounce, so it's a really big one. But it's a really good option. Again, it thumps. That's what I'm looking for in those blade baits. There's several on there that I've bought tons of them just to kind of experiment. And even if they have that, you know, design with the swivel on the back, that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna thump hard right out of the package. You may have to put like I said, an extra swivel, a bigger blade. You have to experiment, but that lifting and dropping is a great way to fish them and to catch fish when the water's cold. The other way that I catch a lot of fish with them is reeling, and then stopping. You know, I'll get it to the bottom, reel a few times, stop, reel, stop, reel, stop. And a lot of times they'll hit it right when you pick up to reel it again. You know, they're following it, they see it hit the bottom, making that disturbance. Then as soon as it makes that movement, that's when you're gonna get a hit, or that's when they're gonna hit it. So there's a couple different options and ways to fish them, but they are excellent when the water's cold. I think they're super underrated. Maybe people just aren't talking about them as much, but they catch fish when nothing else will. Same with the blade bait. There's something about that metal when the water is cold and frigid. Those fish can't resist it on the bottom. I don't know if it's the sound, the vibration, combination of both, but blade baits, tail spinners are very good. Now with setups, you know, I have some friends that are very much into blade baits and tail spinners like me, and they all use bait cast gear. You know, they use kind of like a jerk bait rod, something that's, you know, not too stiff. You know, they could pull on fish or get the right action with the bait, but when they hook one, it has some give to it, so they're not ripping out these little tiny trebles. I personally like spinning gear, 7-foot, medium. You know, there's a lot of good ones on the market. 2,500, 3,000 size reel, pretty basic stuff. But I like braided line, 15-pound Seaguar Smackdown Flash Green. You know, that high vis color is really good for detecting bites. A lot of times they're not, even, you know, with a bait like this, they're not hitting it very hard. They're grabbing it as it's falling, so you're losing contact with it. That high vis braid really helps. On the leader size, I like to go up compared to what I would for finesse fishing. So we're talking 10-pound, 12-pound fluorocarbon. I like Gold Label is a good one, Tatsu's a good one, Red Label's a good one even. You know, any good quality fluorocarbon And again, going up a size to that 10 to 12 or even 15 is going to prevent some of that fouling that you get when you're lifting and dropping, which is going to happen. You know, it's part of the game. You're going to foul up, you're going to ruin some casts, but when you're lifting and dropping and casting these things around, you're going to get some tangles. But going to a heavier fluorocarbon will help. So that's the Tailspinner. I think it's, again, super underrated. A lot of people have fished them, but I don't think people are fishing them enough. They are dynamite when the water's cold, which is probably what's going on as you're watching this video right now. I'm putting all these blade baits and Tailspinners in my boat because the next few trips, I know it's going to be time. It's time when the water gets cold. The colder the better. When they don't want to seem to eat anything else, pick up the metal.